we are told as children is that people, when they walk on the land, leave their breath wherever they go. So whenever we walk, that particular spot on the earth never forgets us. When we go back to these places, we know that the people who lived there are in some ways still there, and that we can partake of their breath and of their spirit. Wabi-McGill White Feather, widely known as Betty Albert, a renowned First Nations artist. Our Lake Superior Circle Tour begins on Whitefish Island in the Sault Ste. Marie region of Canada. Elders from the Bachewana First Nation have shared an ancient legend that in the beginning of time, the Creator told the crane to choose a homeland. He flew and flew in search of it, and after a considerable amount of time, settled in Bawating, as there was an abundance of fish to sustain himself and the First Nations people. There were 7 original clans, each known by an animal emblem or a totem. The Crane and Loon clans were given the power of chieftainship, and by working together, it provided for a balanced government. Today's Bachewana First Nation leader is Chief Dean Sayers, who is from a long lineage of the Crane clan. Archaeological studies conducted on the island in 1976 identified unique plants, flora and fauna, and over 100,000 artifacts were recovered, which included pottery, tools, and many other items. Whitefish Island is the site of native encampments since it was formed over 2,000 years ago. The studies concluded there was an unbroken chain of occupation culminating in the development of the Ojibwe Nation in the Sault Ste. Marie area. It was an ongoing network of trade with other tribes, with extensive evidence of net fishing and the involvement of the native copper industry. Whitefish Island is 1 kilometer in length and up to 500 meters wide. It is undeveloped and considered a sacred site to the Bachewana First Nation. Bawating, the Rapids. Nanabuju, also known as Nanabush, is a spirit and figures prominently in Anishinaabe storytelling, in particular among the Ojibwe. It has been told that a giant beaver escaped from Nanabuju's corral and scattered boulders, creating the long, shallow falls along the St. Mary's River. It has been said that in the days of old, the whitefish running in the fall was so bountiful that you could walk across the river on the backs of the fish. The Indian method of fishing whitefish in the rapids was from a single canoe using a scoop net. The hazards are obvious, and fishing the rapids was just one of the many examples of their tenacity and their skills. St. Mary's River was an historic waterway of the First Nations peoples, explorers, voyageurs, missionaries, soldiers, and settlers. A bottleneck of travel to and from Lake Superior. As they began to explore the rich fur lands of the Lake Superior area in the 17th century, European traders were hampered by the fierce rapids of Sault Ste. Marie. In 1797, the Northwest Company established a trading post on the north side of the rapids, and in 1798, they built a small lock. It was intended for the passage of the bateau, a flat-bottomed boat, and it facilitated the transfer of goods between the company's schooners on Lake Huron and those on Lake Superior. During the War of 1812, the Americans destroyed the small lock and it was never rebuilt. The Sault Ste. Marie Canal, built in 1895, was the world's largest lock, the first to operate using electricity, and the last link in an all-Canadian navigational chain from the Atlantic to Lake Superior. On June 9, 1909, the emergency swing dam was called into action. The freighter Perry G. Walker crashed into the lock gates while two vessels were locking through. The rush of the water through the lock ripped the two sets of lock gates out of the wall and carried them away and flushed the two vessels through the lock, damaging the lock floor and the submarine electric cables. The emergency swing dam was swung across the canal, greatly reducing the flow of water and enabling the workers to regain control. It looks like a bridge, but it's actually a dam. It was built by the Dominion Bridge Company of Montreal in 1896. Only 9 emergency swing dams were constructed worldwide, and today, this is the only one remaining. It was the only one to put to a real-life test under emergency conditions. Today, the canal is used by recreational craft, and all commercial ships traverse the river through the American locks. One of the tourist highlights on both the Canadian and American side of the locks is to take the Soo Locks boat tour. It is rated a top 5 Michigan attraction that has been offering exciting tours through the famous Soo Locks since 1934. You will see all 4 United States locks, the Canadian lock, the St. Mary's Rapids, 3 hydroelectric plants, and historic scenic waterfronts of the United States and Canada. You will also experience locking through the Soo Locks. The narrator will explain the history and operation of the locks as your boat is raised 21 feet straight up to the level of Lake Superior. The cruise will also take you alongside massive lake freighters and ocean vessels. Welcome to Sault Ste. Marie, Canada. Commonly referred to as the Soo, the 3rd largest city in northern Ontario after Sudbury and Thunder Bay, with a population of almost 75,000 people. It enjoys a beautiful waterfront park with community events and concerts throughout the summer. You can view the United States across the St. Mary's River and the constant traffic of commercial vessels heading for Lake Huron and Lake Superior. The locks on the U.S. side is definitely worth a visit. The information center and the multi-level viewing gallery will bring you up close to the floating behemoths while they traverse the locks. Unfortunately, the series will be traveling another 1,300 miles around Lake Superior before we feature this amazing construction by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Some of the other tourist highlights include the Canadian Bushplane Museum, located in the historic waterfront hangar that was once home to the Ontario Provincial Air Service. The Bushplane Heritage Centre boasts over 30 aircraft displays, 2 theaters, flight simulators, and interactive children's activities. The Art Gallery of Algoma. Approximately 24 exhibitions are mounted each year at the gallery, featuring local, national, and international artists. The AGA also boasts an ever-growing permanent collection of 5,000 works of art and an arts-related resource center. The Agawa Canyon Tour Train, a one-day rail adventure into the heart of the Canadian wilderness, arriving at the scenic Agawa Canyon. The canyon was created 1.2 billion years ago and carved out by glaciers 10,000 years ago. The Agawa region and the waterfalls in the canyon inspired the famous group of 7 artists to create some of Canada's most notable landscape art. Sault Ste. Marie is an all-seasons destination on both sides of the border. Travelers on the Lake Superior Circle Tour will need to book extra time when visiting the Twin Cities, and you will find a week-long stay will not be near enough to enjoy the sights and activities in and around these historic and picturesque cities. For the next 2.5 hours northbound on the Trans-Canada Highway, you'll see dozens of must-stop locations with some of the most beautiful coastlines anywhere. The sunsets are picture postcard quality on most nights, and the wilderness and wildlife are spectacular. But before we leave the Sault, there is one tourist stop well worth spending an extra hour to discover. Something for all ages. And there are fabulous photo opportunities. The award-winning Kippawa Trading Post and Frontier Village. It's a hands-on family business with a variety of retail and food businesses all centered around a frontier theme. We now turn our attention northbound and start the 1,300-mile Lake Superior Circle tour. Buckle up, watch out for bear and moose, especially at night. Here's a preview of what's coming up in the next episode. Safe travels.
Thank you.
One of the more prominent images is Mishipishu, the underwater panther, the great water lynx, a feared creature said to live in the deepest parts of the lake. With its spiny back and tail, it can cause destructive storms, winds, and waves in minutes. An offering of tobacco is customary to pray for calm waters and a safe journey.
Cycling Lake Superior because we have done all the other 4 lakes before, and this is our last big adventure. We started 24 days ago